So we are live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever is going to take the time to watch this. So this month, the Health Channel has dedicated it to celebrate men's health. And today, we are privileged to have one of the most renowned nutritionists in the country, Mr. Kepha Nyanumba, who will introduce himself, and then we just discuss on what we are going to talk about, and then we'll just proceed. So, Mr. Kepha, karibu.
Thank you so much. My name is Nyanumba Kepha, consultant nutritionist. I'm based at Apai, KMS Center. I work with a number of insurance companies as a wellness service provider. I also sit in the Kenya Bureau of Standards Nutrition Committee. And I'm actually one of the authors for the new curriculum. And for some of us who read newspapers, I write articles in a number of newspapers and magazines, and also feature in a number of TV channels whereby I'm always talking about the importance of lifestyle change. So I'm really excited to be here today because we all know that everybody wants to wake up on daily basis, full of energy to go about our daily activities. So I'm really happy to be here today.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Kepha. And for everyone who's watching, so you can imagine the quality of information and the authority that Mr. Kepha says on every statement that's going to come from his mouth. So being a Men's Health Month, the first thing that we had thought of discussing is about nutrition, because we are what we eat and more. And so if you eat well, automatically your body will thank you. And if you don't, it will always punish you. So today, really, we are going to discuss on men's vitality, and it's going to be on the mental, the physical, and of course, the sexual vitality. So to start with, maybe Mr. Kepha can just start by telling us what exactly is vitality.
Thank you so much. That's a very important question. Vitality is simply the state of being active and strong enough so that you can achieve maximum performance in terms of everything that we're actually doing. And for that to happen, of course, you need to understand that the human body is like a car. And when taken good care of, or if you maintain your car, of course, you'll be able to get, good performance. That is what you need to know.
Yeah. And I love that example of our human bodies are like a car, because I know men love their cars. And if you happen to take care of your car more than your body, then you are going to actually know that your priorities are not so right. Usually,
in fact, that's what it happens.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what it happens. Most people don't know how to put the first things first. For example, as you said, there are a number of people who take their cars for service after 5,000 or 10,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
But they've never done a simple test like, checking their blood sugar, their blood pressure, etc. And that happens because most people don't know how to put the first things first.
Yeah, I love that. So now that you talked about the fueling of the car, I mean, the checking of the car, I want to believe the fuel of the food that we eat is like a fuel to our body, which also corresponds to the fuel in the car. And you see, you don't just put any fuel into your car just because you think it's nice. There have to be very specific types of fuel that you put in each specific car, and it's usually advised by the engine of the car. So when it comes to the fueling of our bodies, starting with the mental, because I think everything we are started from the mind. It has always been an idea, and then we put it into being a real thing. So starting with the mental health, the mental state, how can we make sure that the lifestyle that we live is actually promoting a healthy mental state?
Okay, that's a very good question. In fact, nutrition is one of the key components of our lifestyle. And of course, we know that we eat on daily basis. We take breakfast, we take lunch, we take dinner since childhood. We don't seem to get tired eating. And therefore, it makes a lot of sense for us to ensure that we benefit in terms of the nutrients that we need from our foods. And nutrients actually work as a team. Now, there are a number of nutrients that we need to enhance our mental vitality. Some of these nutrients include, for example, we need omega-3. Omega-3 is actually one of the nutrients that most people don't get because most of the products we have in the market have a lot of omega-6. that is known to promote what we call inflammation, but omega-3 reduces inflammation. Now, some of the good sources of omega-3 include the seafoods like tilapia, we have sardines, etc. You can also get omega-3 from the different seeds that we have. For example, we have the chia seeds, the flax seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, etc. We also need nutrients like vitamin D. In fact, vitamin D is very important when it comes to our brain function, according to studies. And the best source for vitamin D is actually the sun. Unfortunately, we live at a time when most people have what you call vitamin D deficiency. We also need the foods that are very rich in terms of vitamin E. Vitamin E is very important when it comes to our brain function. Some of the food sources of vitamin E include the different, nuts, like we have the peanuts, the cashew nuts, almonds, etc. They are very good in terms of vitamin E. We also need calcium, and we also need to understand that vitamin D enhances calcium absorption, meaning the moment you have vitamin D deficient, then your calcium levels are actually going to come down. And of course, we also need zinc. Zinc is very important in terms of coordination. We understand that the human brain is actually what coordinates all the bodily functions, but it sends signals. It actually sends signals using the electrolyte, the sodium, potassium, chloride, etc. So it's very important for us to ensure that we get all these electrolytes. Of course, we also need zinc, which also plays a key role when it comes to coordination.
Yeah. Now, usually, of course, okay, there are those nutrition. There are those nutrients that you have just said, but then now the issue is most people usually struggle with is the issue of the quality, because as you said, like for example, you mentioned about tilapia, you mentioned about sardines, and then with the kind of environment that we live in, how likely are we to get maximum nutrients from the food we eat?
Because from experience, apart from the environment that of course affects the quality of our foods, one of the challenges most people have is actually the increased cases of digestive disorders, conditions like constipation, etc. Simply means that you have what you call a compromised digestion process. And we know that once your digestion is compromised, the rate of nutrient absorption usually gets affected. And that is why, especially for the patients who come to see us, the first thing that we usually do is to ensure that we address our digestion process, because we want to maximize nutrient absorption. But otherwise, it's also very, very important for us to ensure that we know the source of our foods, because we live at a time when, getting quality food becomes a challenge. But the challenge we also see with a number of people is the fact that most people assume that they don't have this and these nutrients, and a number of them start going for the supplements before they even check their nutrient levels. And that, of course, would affect them in a number of ways, because if you take excess of certain nutrients, you still be affected. And that is why we recommend that people go for regular checkups before you take any supplements, making sure that you've actually checked your nutrient levels.
Yeah. And I want you to talk to the men who usually find it difficult to have breakfast, lunch, and supper. And even when you look generally, no statistics, nothing, most ladies are more likely to carry food from home to work as compared to most men. And of course, they'll always give you a reason. So they are more predisposed to take unhealthy foods because, of course, they're quick and fast.
That is actually true. Unfortunately, men are likely to carry food. In fact, studies have even shown that women tend to take more water than men, yet they actually need more water compared to women. And I think that is something that needs to change. In fact, you'll find men smoking on the street, but they cannot carry water. And that is why, according to studies, actually, women seem to live a bit longer compared to men. And one of the reasons is purely because of lifestyle. So that is something that is actually supposed to change. Because by the end of the day, nobody wants to be sick. We all want to wake up, as I said, full of energy to go about our daily activities. But for that to happen, we must embrace lifestyle change.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the mental state, because for your body to even just the urge of you waking up and go to exercise, you really need a functioning mental state. And so it's very important to make sure that you eat well and eat healthy and avoid behaviors that are going to compromise your mind. Okay. And as you said, if you take care of your car, double that to your own health. Now, when it comes to the...
maybe to add something in terms of mental health, one of the challenges we have, especially at this time, is stress. Stress is affecting a number of people. Of course, we understand that right now the world is in a state of a crisis. People have lost their loved ones and their livelihoods. So a number of people are actually stressed, they're depressed, they're anxious. And what most people don't know is the fact that, stress affects our mental vitality. And that is why we need to ensure that we manage stress. There are professionals who can assist us to do that. So that is something that we cannot ignore, because stress, according to studies, have been shown to, influence people to take unhealthy foods because of the cravings. So stress is something that we really need to address.
Yeah. And I think it's a story of a chicken and an egg. I don't know what comes first. Do you start depression, then you eat unhealthy, or are you unhealthy, then you get depressed? Sometimes it's yeah. But anyway, but the key point is just take care of your mental health. And if stress is what is eating you, try as much as you can to manage it. And as he said, if need be, you may need a professional help, because most of the time, if you're in a dark place, it's very rare for you to be able to come out of it by yourself. So now we move to the physical, the muscle building and the fat burning. Usually, as like when you grow up, when you become a teenager, and you have this image of a perfect man, like the shape, the body shape, and the muscle, la la la. And sometimes people are pulled towards taking all these enhancers. I would want you to comment on that, on the enhancers first, and then the foods that will help us naturally build our muscles and burn fats. So first you go, then yeah.
Now, let me quickly comment about the muscle enhancers, and we really discourage them, because they could actually increase, the risk of conditions like stroke, etc. Because of the way they actually work. In fact, if you want to gain muscles, we want it to be done the natural way. But before we even talk about building muscles, it's very important for us to understand why we need to increase our muscle percentage. And it's actually because, muscles influence our metabolism rate. And metabolism is simply the way or the rate at which our body actually functions. Now, when your metabolism slows down, the risk of obesity increases. And of course, that comes with a number of lifestyle diseases. Now, one thing you need to know about the muscles is the fact that, when your body fat increases, your muscle percentage usually comes down. Now, for the patients who come to see us, we usually do what we call the body composition analysis, and we're able to know your body fat percentage, we're able to know your muscle percentage, we are able to know your body water percentage. For your information, I've seen people take, 2 liters of water or even 3 liters of water, but when you check your water percentage, still on the lower side, because your body is not retaining the water. You're also able to know your bone mass, which is also very, very important. So it's very important for us to ensure that our muscles are within the recommended range. And as I said, of course, for us to do that, we need to reduce our body fat percentage. For men, your body fat percentage is supposed to be less than 25. And of course, for women, it's a bit higher. It's usually supposed to be less than 30. So maybe the question you like me to answer is, how do we build the muscles? And for us to answer that question, it actually takes back to our lifestyle, the way we take our meals. You've just mentioned that there are some of us, who don't take all the 3 meals per day. And what we usually say is, number one, you're supposed to ensure that you are taking all your meals, and of course, make sure that you're taking a good breakfast. The term breakfast means that you're breaking the fasting, because at night everybody's actually fasting and all that. Most people don't do that. When you don't break the fasting, sometimes you would affect your muscle percentage. The other thing you need to consider is ensuring that you have proteins when you're taking your meals. In fact, when you talk about our meals, we should always remember to have the 3 food groups, and of course, don't miss proteins. Proteins are actually, the building blocks for our muscles. We also need to ensure that we are getting quality rest, or we need to ensure that we are getting good sleep at night. In fact, we usually say that sleeping is not a luxury; it's a necessity.
Yeah.
Sleeping is not a luxury; it's a necessity. Why am I saying that? Because at night, our body renews the cells. It also builds muscles when we are sleeping, and that is supposed to happen when we are not aware. It happens through what you call the unconscious mind, and it has to be in darkness. So switch off your lights. Some of us, sleep with the lights on. Make sure that you're switching off the lights. And of course, if you have issues with the quality of your sleep, that needs to be addressed, because I've seen a number of people, for example, go to bed at 9 and sleep is coming at around 2 or 1, 1 a.m. and maybe for 10 or for 1 hour or 2 hours disappears again. So such people usually wake up, very, very tired. And they are the people are likely to, to start their day with a cup of coffee. So it's very important for us to address the quality of our rest, apart from addressing the quantity of the rest as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So which nutrients would you recommend for good sleep? Because I know sometimes when you have some, especially the minerals and the micronutrients deficiencies, you're more likely to have lack of sleep, insomnia.
Now, there are a number of ways we can actually we can work on getting good sleep. Before I talk about the nutrients, the first thing we need to do is to ensure that we manage stress. There are a number of people who are actually affected by stress. When you're stressed, of course, in most cases, your quality of life gets affected. Number two, you need to make sure that you cut down your intake of caffeinated drinks. The people take, for example, coffee before they go to bed. If you do that, of course, the quality of your rest is going to be affected. We need to make sure that we don't use gadgets like laptops or the computers before we go to bed. And the other thing we need to do is to ensure that we have the right balance of hormones. There's some hormones that we call cortisol, and at night our cortisol levels are actually supposed to be on the lower side. Now, to some of us, because of hormone imbalance, at times we have excessive production of cortisol, especially at night, and that tends to affect the quality of our rest. And of course, we also know that there are a number of nutrients that are very important when it comes to the quality of our sleep. For example, I talked about vitamin E, which is very, very important. Vitamin C is also known to play a key role when it comes to the quality of our sleep. But of course, for us to get all the nutrients that we need, it starts by ensuring that we are taking our meals, and of course, ensuring that we don't avoid any food groups. Most people get micronutrient deficiencies because of, for example, when it comes to weight loss, we are trying to avoid certain food groups. And of course, with the time we start getting micronutrient deficiencies, and the body gets affected. Because when the body gets affected, of course, the quality of the rest is also going to be affected. We need to really ensure that we are taking, all the foods that we need, and that will assist us to get the right balance of nutrients that we need for quality rest.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying, we for a good sleep, we need to have a sleep routine. Yes. Just like the way we recommend for babies when you are trying to put them to bed, there's a routine that you need to follow, and consistency usually automatically makes it easier for them to fall asleep.
Very important. So, very important.
Yeah. And now, what about the fat burning? Because you talked about the muscle building. What about the fat burning? Are there foods that would promote fat burning?
Now, when you talk about fat burning, what actually increases, the rate at which your body is actually burning the fat is your muscle percentage. And that is why you cannot have more body fat and still have more muscle percentage. When the body fat increases, usually your muscle percentage usually comes down. And for us to be able to burn more fat, it's very simple. We simply need to work on our muscles. How do we do that? Apart from controlling what you're eating so that your body fat can come down, you also need to increase exercise. Exercise is also very, very, very important. But of course, when you talk about exercise, we need to make sure that we are consistent, because the key word when it comes to exercise is consistent. Get moderate exercise. That your body will be well equipped to be able to the excess fat.
Okay. So what you're saying is a balanced diet, enough protein, enough carbohydrates, enough good healthy fats is what will build your muscle, and it also is what is going to reduce your fat percentage in your body. Hi, Mr.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
No, I'm saying I was just recapping what you said.
Yes.
That a balanced diet is what will increase your muscle and also reduce your fat if you have optimum exercises. So when it comes to exercises, is there anything that you would recommend? Because there are so many types of exercise.
Yeah, it's true. Now, surprisingly, the simple forms of exercise are actually the most effective forms of exercise according to studies. For example, studies have shown that walking is the best form of exercise, provided you are consistent. I've seen some people, who engage in vigorous forms of exercise, especially for the people who go to the gym. Some of them are told, no pain, no gain. Sometimes you have, joint issues and you are trying to force yourself. You are simply making the condition worse. Pain is a signal that your body is sending you, and what the body is simply saying is you need to slow down. Maybe at times it's because of conditions like arthritis, or because of too much body fat. Some people actually start panting as they exercise. So if that happens and you have conditions like cholesterol, in fact, if you keep doing it, we've seen people even falling down and dying. So it's very, very important for us to listen to the body. We have other forms of exercise like skipping. Skipping is actually very good, but of course, we are supposed to begin. For example, if you are weighing 90 kgs or 100 kgs or 110, 120, you need to be careful because you might actually interfere with your joints. So it's very important for us to get professional advice when it comes to exercise. Now, for people know this gadget called a pedometer. There's a gadget that is called a pedometer. It can always assist you to count the number of steps that you make per day. You're supposed to target 10,000 steps for you to count yourself active.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, there are so many apps that can also do the same thing. Like you just switch it on, and it's part of your phone. And most of us, most of the time, we are with our phones, so it can really, really help you gauge how good or how active you have been in that particular day. All right.
Yes.
So we move to the third bit, and that's sexual activity. And first things first, what kind of lifestyle would you recommend when it comes to sexual longevity and sexual vitality in a man?
Now, before I talk about that, it's very important for us to work on our sexual performance because according to studies, it actually plays a key role in a number of ways. Are you getting me?
Yes, I'm listening. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, there was a bit of a network issue. So I was saying that a good sex life has many benefits, including, addressing your stress levels. It actually boosts our immune function. It's very important in terms of, pain reduction. It actually makes the body to produce what you call the feel good hormones. We call them the endorphins, etc. And there are a number of nutrients that are known to assist us to achieve, good performance. Some of these nutrients include, vitamin E. I talked about vitamin E. It actually enhances what you call sexual performance. And some of the food sources of vitamin E include, for example, we have the peanuts, the cashew nuts, the almonds, etc. You can also get vitamin E from the different seeds that I talked about. We have, the simsim seeds, the chia seeds, the flax seeds, the pumpkin seeds, etc. Now, we also need to increase our foods, especially the foods that are known to be rich in terms of antioxidants. We need to increase the foods that are rich in terms of antioxidants. And examples of these foods include, for example, the foods that are rich in terms of vitamin C. I think we have a bit of network issue.
No, I can hear you. Hi. Yeah, so we're talking about the nutrients that may help you improve your sexual health. And I think we have lost Kepha. I don't know. Oh. Can you hear me, Kepha? Are you back? Oh. Let's see. Sorry. We have a bit of a problem, but I hope no, I don't know if it's me. Okay, let me see. you back, Kepha?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, so
okay.
I was talking about
the nutrients.
Yeah, the nutrients. I've given examples of the foods that are good in terms of vitamin E. That is actually very important when it comes to sexual performance. I was also talking about the antioxidants. Antioxidants are the compounds that assist us to get rid of free radicals. Free radicals are known to affect, the body in terms of performance, and that is why we need to make sure that we are able to get rid of the free radicals. So some of the foods that are rich in terms of antioxidants include we have fruits like the citrus fruits. Examples include the oranges, the passion fruits, the lemons, etc. You can also get antioxidants from red wine. For some of us who take wine, we should take red instead of white. But of course, if you don't take wine, you don't have to start taking the wine because you can get antioxidants from the food you actually mentioned. Now, the other foods that we need to increase are the foods that will increase what we call our nitric oxide levels. Now, nitric oxide is actually a chemical messenger that opens the blood vessels, and that is very important when it comes to blood circulation. I know that circulation, plays a key role when it comes to sexual performance. Now, some of these foods include, for example, we have the different nuts that I talked about, the cashew nuts, the almonds, the peanuts, etc. We can also get, nitric oxide from garlic. So sometimes you can actually use garlic when you're preparing our meals. But apart from talking about the nutrients that we need, we also need to make sure that we cut down our alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption needs to come down. We need to avoid smoking. Smoking actually affects, it affects the sexual performance. We need to make sure that we maintain our BMI within the recommended range. Now, studies have shown that excessive accumulation because of the excessive body fat, excessive accumulation of the body fat because of obesity, affects sexual performance, and that is why it's very important for us, therefore, to make sure that we maintain our BMI within the recommended range. Meaning, if your weight is above the recommended range, you might need to see a nutritionist. You can always come for assistance, and of course, you need a bit of exercise.
Okay. Well, so the bottom line is everybody needs to take nuts. You need to take a packet of nuts every day and a full orange every day, and most of your problems will be sorted. And of course, you need to exercise and make sure you have a good night's sleep and drink enough water. So you see, usually there are changes that come with age, and based on the nutrients that you just said, which ones are mostly affected by age? For example, you see, like a 20-year-old man and a 30 and a 40 and a 60-year-old man are all different. I mean, in all states, including their performance as far as physical activity and also, of course, their sexual activity. So, of these nutrients, as you age, which ones must you very intentionally increase with time?
Okay, that's a very good question. In fact, the biggest enemy to our performance is the assumption that things should always remain the same. And that is why most people don't make the necessary adjustments as we get old. For example, we know that after 40 years, we start losing muscles. And therefore, it's very important for us to start making, some adjustments in terms of our lifestyle. For instance, we need to start increasing, our intake of proteins, because proteins, as I said, are actually very important in terms of building muscles. And of course, I've already said, the benefits of having a good percentage of muscles. So we also need to make sure that we start increasing the foods that are rich in terms of calcium and vitamin D. And some of these foods, especially the ones that are rich in terms of calcium, include, for example, we have dairy products like yogurt. We have milk, which is also very important. I know some people have lactose intolerance, but we can always get other options because of that condition. Now, for vitamin D, we can actually get vitamin D, as I said, from the sun, but we can also get it from the egg yolk. Very, very important. And of course, as we get old, we need to increase our activity level, but it's supposed to be moderate and, of course, consistent. Very important, because exercise is very, very important. But before the exercise, of course, we need to address what we are taking.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So basically, it's as you grow older, you have less options of you taking junk food, of you taking wrong foods, of you not being active with your physical exercise, of you not being very intentional with your sleep patterns, of you just not being able to take care of yourself. Because the older you grow, the narrower the leeway of you making mistakes when it comes to your health choices.
Yes, which is actually true. Maybe the other thing I would add is we need to start going for regular checkups, because nowadays we get people with conditions like diabetes, blood pressure, and they even don't know they have those conditions. So as we get old, it's very important for us to start embracing the idea of regular checkups. Very important. In fact, on a yearly basis, we recommend that you do your wellness checkups. There are certain months, for example, when we give very good rates. For men, for example, you need to check your PSA. For 40 years, very important. Of course, you need to do so many other tests. You need to check your blood sugar. You need to check your uric acid levels. You need to check your cholesterol levels, etc. And we are not doing that because we are sick, but because we want to prevent disease. We know that for certain conditions like cancers, of course, when they're known in a good time, before they get to, let's say, stage 3, stage 4, something can be done about this condition. So it's very important for us to embrace the idea of regular checkups.
Yeah. It's just the maintenance, as the way you started. It's like a car. You cannot drive a car and only visit a mechanic when it's broken. It has to be done on routinely basis, and not only once a year. Actually, for your car, I'm sure you visit the mechanic 3-4 times in a year, depending on how much you use your car. So think about your body and just make the priorities right. So as we close, Kepha, what are your closing remarks?
Now, let me say the lifestyle change, like playing a piano. When you're playing a piano, you can get music or you get noise, but that depends on the kind of buttons that you touch. If you make the wrong choices, you get noise. If you make the right choices, you get music out of that. Thank you.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I will not say anything. Just make sure that you get the music out of your life. Thank you so much for everybody, and we wish you a great time. Bye-bye.